Give it to us.
Greetings, North Texas. First, I'd like to thank each of you for attending today's rally against corruption. Events such as this are crucial to our way of life. This is the core of our constitutional rights and the only means that we the people have left to be heard in this country. It's how we express our grievances, it's how we educate each other, and it's how we come together in unity to say enough is enough. So what is corruption? I've seen a trend emerging calling for an end to political corruption by getting money out of politics. This is a true and noble endeavor, but I fear that now it is only the tip of the iceberg. Sadly, in our modern world, these are basic traits corruption is also defined as moral depravity and perversion of integrity. Sadly, in our modern world, these are basic traits referred to not as corruption, but simply as everyday politics. President Barack Obama ran on a very distinct campaign in 2008, Hope and Change. He spoke of a better education for our kids, of ending senseless wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, of closing Guantanamo Bay, of limiting lobbyists in Washington and holding the 1% accountable. Many of us who grew up with George W. Bush as Commander-in-Chief in our intellectual adolescence were naive enough to believe him, including myself. And what have we seen? Funding slashed for public schools, gouging interest rates on student loans. We see soldiers in active duty still being sent to Iraq and Afghanistan, while watching veterans' benefits get slashed repeatedly by our legislators. Guantanamo Bay got renovated. Lobbyists are running more rampant than ever, and our economic stabilization is a hoax. We watched as the stock market hit record high after record high. We watched as bailout recipients became worth more than they ever dreamed they would become in their lives, while the conditions for the rest of us remain stagnant at best. Now the Obama administration is working on the Trans-Pacific Partnership to give unprecedented power to private corporations internationally. Where's the hope? Where's the change? Is this not perversion of integrity? Our system is built on lying to the public while focusing on private interests at the expense of the very people who are supposed to be represented. With that, I'd like to spend a little time focusing on aspects that I would certainly consider to be moral depravity. I said in the beginning that events like this are the core of our constitutional rights. But make no mistake, although we are here today, the right has been under vicious attack. House Resolution 347, the Federal Restricted Buildings and Grounds Improvement Act of 2011, effectively limits our rights to peaceful assembly where it matters most. Under the guise of disruption of federal business, we may no longer address our grievances anywhere the Secret Service is or may even become present. We certainly cannot occupy Capitol Hill without facing federal charges. Even right here in Dallas, on the local level, we have city ordinances that threaten our very rights. City Ordinance Section 28-158.1 was further revised last year to prevent protests within the vicinity of a freeway, including the use of clothing or costumes that are intended to draw attention. When you look at the list of roads this law specifically encompasses, we are left with a few places within the city of Dallas to exercise what is supposed to be a constitutional right. And what is the reason we are given such restrictions? Public safety. This seems to be a common thing. Whenever I hear the words public safety or national security, I always look to see what rights are being trampled on next or simply done away with altogether. Another piece of legislation originally presented in 2011 was the National Defense Authorization Act. Under the guise of national security, habeas corpus has been nullified. Military authorization has been granted against the American citizens on American soil under the suspicion of terrorist activity, which is defined so broadly by the bill that this assembly itself could fall under suspicion. Despite our right to fair trial by a jury of our peers, our government saw fit to legislate reasoning to to indefinitely detain American citizens without charge or trial under their own suspicion for national security. The leaked documents that we have seen, the documents that have been declassified over the years, the legislation that they don't even attempt to hide anymore, have become a threat to our very ways of life. I won't continue with that list, otherwise we'll be here all day. But I would like to point out that the National Defense Authorization Act has eradicated our 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendment rights all on its own. These are not simply the fault of the President alone, for it takes the entirety of Congress to be able to pass these laws. American citizens are being treated like the enemy in their own country, and that is just about as corrupt as you can get. Thank you for your time.
Yeah! Woo! Woo!